All right, we've got some of the top heavyweights in the world fighting on Christmas weekend. Saturday in Saudi Arabia, the Day of Reckoning pay-per-view event, I like that name, will go down. Both Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are fighting on this card, although they aren't battling each other yet. So let's break down a big night of heavyweight bouts with two of the best covering the sport. The host of the Mandatory Boxing Show, Shantelle Chand, and Bryan Fonseca join me now. Guys, how are you doing this holiday season?
Doing good, Dex. Almost Christmas time, but always good to have some boxing on before then.
Yes, there is good to have some boxing. Bryan, how about you? Got all the gifts ready? Everything good?
Yeah, you know I'm annoyed because this fight should have happened 6, 7 years ago, and they're still not going to fight each other. But we'll get into it. But otherwise, yes. All is well. All is well.
All is well. I feel your annoyance on this here. I can't say you're wrong. I'm going to start with you, Shantelle, because this card is a double main event. So we're going to talk about both of those matches. And first up, two-time former unified heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. He's going to take on Otto Wallin. I think people would look at Wallin and say he's dangerous here because he nearly beat Tyson Fury back in 2019. What does Joshua need to do to get a win against a tested opponent?
Well, I think this is a really interesting bout for Anthony Joshua because he has switched trainers a lot leading up to this fight. First, he was with Rob McCracken. Then he was with Rob Garcia. Then he was with Derek James. And now for this fight, he's with Ben Davison, who is very known to have trained Tyson Fury. Now, for this bout, I think Anthony Joshua has to be aggressive, but not too aggressive because you don't want to do that against a guy like Otto Wallin, who is very skilled. I think he has a steady jab and decent footwork. I think Anthony Joshua, though, has to impose his will. He is an inch taller. He has a longer reach, so he has to use that to his advantage. And the one thing about Otto Wallin, though, he's sneaky good. He's a tricky fighter. So I think Anthony Joshua does have to impose his will, try to get him into a corner, and, of course, throw some jabs and establish the jab and throw some nasty combos as well. I don't think Anthony Joshua gets the knockout in this one. A lot of people are wanting him to, and they want him to have that crazy finish. But I just think Anthony Joshua needs a very good performance against Otto Wallin. We'll see if that happens. But if he does that, I think it'll be very good for him. And then we get that fight that, Bryan just mentioned that we've been kind of waiting for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah, we've all been waiting, and we're going to get to that. So thank you for that analysis on Joshua, Shantelle. Bryan, I want to ask you this. Former WBC champ Deontay Wilder, he's going to also be in action when he takes on former WBO champ Joseph Parker. Now, like Joshua, Wilder, he's a heavy favorite here. Does Parker have anything to give Wilder a run for his money on Saturday night?
Yeah, Joseph Parker's a real challenge. I actually think both of these guys, meaning Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, are probably headed for trap fights, but I think they should both come out victorious. But Joseph Parker's a legit challenge. However, he was knocked out silly by Joe Joyce last year. He's gone 3-0 since, but Deontay Wilder, who hasn't fought since October of 2022, is very well rested. In that fight where he knocked out Robert Helenius, it was probably one of the best showings that he's had because it was a quick night's work. He landed 3 punches, and the third one was a knockout, and he hasn't fought since. So I think Deontay Wilder should win this bout against Joseph Parker, but Joseph Parker is a real test, and in terms of sort of letting this fight marinate some more between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, yes, it's annoying. They probably should have fought in 2016, in 2017, 2018, 2019, at any point before this. And hopefully they'll both win and give us what we want to see. That's already supposedly agreed upon in 2024. I think they should both handle business. Deontay Wilder, though, should have the more spectacular finish because I think he knocks out Joseph Parker.
All right, so you guys thinking they both can win here. All right, let's get to what we want to talk about here and why you guys are annoyed a little bit about this. Now, Bryan knows this because Bryan and I used to do a podcast together. We've been talking about this since 2017. But the intriguing thing with both of these fights is that, in theory, wins by both Joshua and Wilder would set up a long-awaited clash between the two in 2024. Of course, guys, in typical boxing fashion, it feels like a fight that should have happened years ago. So for both of you, are you still intrigued / excited about a potential Joshua versus Wilder bout in 2024? Shantelle, what do you say first?
I'm definitely still intrigued, but I'm going to be even more intrigued if Anthony Joshua can finish this fight off against Otto Wallin in style. I think he has to win distinctively, and there's even a chance, there is a slight chance that Otto Wallin could also upset Anthony Joshua. And if that happens, I don't think I'm going to be as excited for that fight as I would be if Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder have great performances tomorrow. Now, the biggest thing about this is that Deontay Wilder, we know that he has the punching power, and anytime that he's on pay-per-view or television. I want to see him knock out dudes. So that's why I'm excited for it. But yeah, it's been a long wait, 6 or 7 years. Just give us the fight already. They're on the same card, but not fighting each other. That's even more annoying, but I'm definitely still intrigued.
Yes, this just feels like a tease. Day of Reckoning, probably called Day of Teasing or something here because they're teasing you what's happening here. Bryan, is there still intrigue for you about this fight going down next year?
Yeah, of course, because if you're following boxing, you're just, you're suffering most of the time until you finally get what you want. And usually when you get what you want, it's later than it should be. Mayweather, Pacquiao, Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, at least when those fights happen, particularly the latter, they were going off of big winning streaks and things of that nature. Here we have Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. If they do fight each other in 2024, they're going to be post multiple losses each. Both guys have been stopped since, and it would have been a more intriguing bout in 2016, 17, or something along those lines, where both were undefeated and really, really at their peak. I still think this is going to be a mega fight if and when it does happen in 2024. If they both handle business this weekend, I still think it's going to be one of the biggest fights we could get of the year, because it would be embarrassing, frankly, if these two men retire and they never fight. So we better get this fight at some point, regardless of the state that they're in, but they both better handle business this weekend. Otherwise, the intrigue is going to dwindle.
Oh, speaking of handling business, going to ask you guys this before we get up out of here. We all want to see this fight happen, but give me your picks for both of these heavyweight fights. Who wins and why? Bryan, I'm going to start with you on this. Who are your picks for both of these fights?
I have Deontay Wilder winning by knockout between rounds 5 and 8. That's around plus 145, depending on where you look. I think that Joseph Parker is good enough to win some rounds early on, but against Deontay Wilder, doesn't matter how many rounds you win, because good luck trying to avoid that right hand for 12 rounds. And then with Anthony Joshua and Otto Wallin, similar to Shantelle, I think that Anthony Joshua is going to win that fight by decision. Found that at plus 120. I think that Anthony Joshua has been more tactical as he's gotten older in his career. I think he's going to be looking to counter. And I think Otto Wallin is very tough. Tyson Fury beat him, but he didn't drop him. He didn't knock him out. Otto Wallin went the full 12 rounds with who I think is the best heavyweight in the world, despite what we saw against Francis Ngannou. It would have been better if he trained for that fight. And I think that both of these guys, Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, handle business. But I think Wilder gets the knockout. I think Anthony Joshua wins on points. And then we get the super clash in supposedly March. So we'll see if that, in fact, holds up.
We'll see if that holds up. Shantelle, where are you going on both of these fights?
Yeah, mine's not very different from Bryan's thoughts as well. Deontay Wilder, I think he gets the knockout or stoppage between rounds 5 through 8 in the mid rounds, because I think Joseph Parker, he's been a little bit more active than Deontay Wilder, and I think he's going to try to outbox Wilder at first. That's the only thing he can really do. He's not going to knock out Wilder. You never know in a heavyweight bout, because one punch can change everything. But at the same time, I just don't think that's going to happen. Joseph Parker is going to want to get off to an early start in this one. Deontay Wilder has to get into a rhythm because he's been out of the ring for quite some time now, but I think in the end he knocks out Joseph Parker. As for, of course, the big fight, the main event with Anthony Joshua and Otto Wallin, Anthony Joshua, we've seen him fight twice since Usyk, and against Jermaine Franklin, that one went the distance, and he wasn't able to knock him out. I don't think he's going to be able to knock out a guy like Otto Wallin. I think this one goes to the cards, and unless Anthony Joshua distinctively loses, if Otto Wallin puts on a masterclass performance, because that's what he's going to have to do on the cards, because we know what can happen in boxing sometimes. Not saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I'm just saying Otto Wallin has to win distinctively. And if he doesn't, then I think Anthony Joshua, regardless, wins on the cards if he doesn't knock out Otto Wallin, and I don't think he will. So on a lot of sports books, you can find Anthony Joshua winning by decision at around plus 120.
All right, I like the picks here, guys, but we also have to say this before we go. If both of these fighters, Joshua and Wilder, lose, man, this is not going to be good. It's not going to be good for boxing at all. Nobody's going to like this. Bryan's going to be so mad.
It'll be one of the worst days in boxing history, because you just dropped the 30 for 30 would be epic, because it would be a story about how this sport dropped the ball on one of the biggest heavyweight fights of all time. Probably the biggest heavyweight spectacle it could have been since Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson, and it still could be if we actually get it. But
if that is an if, that is an if. They have to fight. We have to see. We'll see if that can happen. Maybe it can be a nice day of reckoning, a nice Christmas boxing weekend for everybody. We will see. 2 good fights going down on Saturday in Saudi Arabia. Bryan Fonseca, Shantelle Chand, they will be watching. They host the Mandatory Boxing Show. Go check that out. Hit the subscribe button, like button for our guys. Guys, thank you. Happy holidays to you both. We will talk some more boxing soon.